And now we're on to the pitch. So what's the title?
The title is Manhunter. It's a crime movie.
Yeah, you could add police procedural, crime thriller, police procedural.
What is a thriller?
A thriller is the word, it's a very popular word actually. It's a word that we use in England and America all the time, which just means an exciting action movie. A thriller, ooh, anything could happen. And it's especially useful in describing police stuff.
Right, okay.
You wouldn't perhaps use it describing a military situation. But often when there's murder, it's a thriller, you know. Time and place?
Takes place in the USA. I wrote West Coast in the 90s, in a second
1980s. 80s. In the 80s, sorry. Yeah, and I think part of it's in Washington and then part of it's in Missouri, but it's got the West Coast, which is home, then you've got the city, which is work, and then you've got the small town, which is the danger. So in a way, each location represents his part of his journey. The protagonist, the lead character,
Will, a retired detective.
Yeah, and you put a troubled detective as well, which I think is good.
Yeah, trouble, but I prefer retired. I think it's but retired and trouble, I guess.
I think you've got to have both. And retired makes him sound old, and he didn't seem that old. He seemed like 45 or something. But,
Yeah.
The goal?
The goal is his wife. I mean, to protect his wife and kids.
Yeah, well, okay, she is the goal in the character scheme, but in the pitch, we'll change what the goal is. It's not the person; it's his action.
Hunt the killer.
And I would change the word "hunt" to something else. His goal isn't to hunt the killer. Now, he does do that, but his goal is to what the killer? To catch, to stop. Yeah?
Stop.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
It's a small thing, but
Yeah.
again, it's very good to be precise on how you're describing things because,
Okay.
Anyway, the obstacles.
Lecture.
Why? Why is Lecter an obstacle?
Because he's the one manipulating the killer.
And he's giving him misdirections.
Misdirections.
You know, he's holding back advice. What about the character that got killed at the halfway point? What about him as an obstacle?
Yeah, wrote his inner guilt or his trouble.
Yeah, his inner psychosis is an obstacle, but then in a strange way, that's also what helps him. I mean, that's his special skill, isn't it? It takes one to know one. And because he's got this troubled, he sees things like the killer. But I suppose if you say, yeah, it's his guilt about that facility is an obstacle.
Yeah.
But I was going to say as well, an obstacle could be time is set up as an obstacle. He's on a lunar cycle. We've only got a few weeks to catch this guy. It's nearly midnight. So again, in American, mainstream American Hollywood product, the time scheme as obstacle is always very clear. I was going to say the journalist as well as an obstacle. The journalist is maybe getting in the way, causing problems. And distance, I guess he's got to travel different distances. Okay, well, let's move on to the resolutions and what's learned.
I wrote confront problems, resolve them.
Okay. Isn't that every single film? Yeah, it's the end is he kills the serial killer and saves the potential next victim, saves the princess. The blind woman is in story structure. She's the princess, I guess. And what's learned is, you know, sometimes you got to go back out there and do one last job before you can walk away. Or the main thing I put is, it takes one to know one. Or what's learned. Sometimes, I tell you what it could be is, sometimes your darkest aspects will make you the skillful person you are. And we have to somehow reconcile our darkness. So that which makes you strange and weird or disturbed can often be what is magical about you. You know, his dark power, that he thinks like a serial killer, is what allows him to save lives. And sometimes you've got to go to the dark place to calm that aspect of yourself. I think that what's learned question is such a useful one for getting you to figure out what it is the hell you're talking about when you're writing a story. Because sometimes we start stories very externally and we allow the internal side just to rise up, which is quite good in a way, you know, just let your unconscious come through. But when you're trying to fix something which doesn't work, it's pretty good to know that what's learned question, because it's like saying, what's your point? What's this story? What are you talking about? You know, it gets you to focus on what that is. And it also is a device for allowing you to have arguments with the script partner, with the producing partner, to say, this idea fits what the story's about, whereas this other idea doesn't. I.e., you know, if you're rejecting someone's idea, it's good to have a rationale for that.